Well, 2023 has been one heck of a year on the AI front, but what's to come in 2024? Let's have a little fun in this one and try to speculate on what things will look like a year from now. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know It All. I'm going to give you my top 10 predictions of what's going to happen in AI in the next 12 months in no particular order, plus two honorable mentions. And so you can hold me accountable, I will do a video in December of 2024 reflecting back and seeing how accurately I predicted what was going to happen. So if you haven't subscribed yet, you should definitely do that. Click the little bell notification icon so you can get notified of all the videos so you don't miss that one. And you'll get a couple of hundred other videos throughout the year. So hopefully that's a good deal for a couple seconds of your time. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. Number one is I believe we are still at the steep part of the adoption curve. I think this is a fairly straightforward one to predict here. Basically what that means is if you're looking at, over time, there have been little bumps of AI, things like that. And then it's been flat for a while in terms of development. And then things really took off last year. But the question is, are we going to bubble up and are we going to see 2024 as kind of a over the top and back down again? And the hype is all blown out of proportion and AI won't really do anything in 2024. I don't believe that that's going to happen for a couple of reasons. The first big reason is even if there's no new major discoveries in 2024, we have a ton of exploitation that we can do of what has already been discovered. So if you're in that explore exploit dichotomy, the explorer is like, new architectures, thinking about new things, new ways of doing AI. And even if you've covered all of that stuff, and even if you completely take it out for 2024, there's still the exploitation aspect, which is figuring out what you can do with all of these discoveries. There is a long ways to go to figure out what we can still do with everything that we've discovered in the last 12 or 24 months. So if on the exploration front of things completely stalled out, we really wouldn't notice next year. We would still keep seeing an increasing number of tools and really cool stuff coming out of AI. So like I said, I believe we're on the steep part of the curve. And what's even more interesting and a little bit frightening is if AI starts to improve itself, we could be just looking at the flat part in 2023. So the part that we thought was steep would actually be relatively flat compared to what could happen in 2024 if AI begins to develop itself. It starts to reflect on itself. It starts to go like, wait, I can better the code, I can better the architecture, and human engineers allow that to happen. Then all the stuff we saw in 2023 would look flat compared to 2024, and it will really take off. I'm not going to absolutely say that's going to happen. I believe that AI will be able to do this, but humans might decide not to let it do that. So that would be the stopping point. But if one or more companies decides to allow the AI entities to reflect on themselves and to improve their code, we could actually be looking at the beginning of an even steeper ramp in 2024. It's a little bit frightening, right? The holidays are here, and that means wonderful time with family and friends, and also the potential to overdo things just a bit. I don't personally bounce back the next day like I used to, and so a night with friends has been a choice. Have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct and not dehydration that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut where you need it most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Go to zbiotics.com/drknow or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use Dr. No at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code, so you can stay prepared no matter the time or the occasion. ZBiotics is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. After using ZBiotics this fall, I can honestly say it's made a huge difference for those celebratory evenings. I drink a bottle of ZBiotics before hanging out with friends, stay hydrated between drinks, and the next day I feel great. I have to say this is a real game changer for fun nights. So this holiday season, give your family and friends the gift of a better tomorrow with ZBiotics. Just remember, ZBiotics is the drink you drink before drinking. Be sure to head to zbiotics.com/drknow and use the code DrKnow at checkout for 15% off. Thanks to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode, and now let's get back to it. My number two prediction is that we actually will get an architectural breakthrough in 2024, or we will discover that something that was discovered this year is actually an architectural breakthrough, one or the other. So it could have officially been discovered in like October of 2023, but nobody really realized what a gigantic breakthrough it was until 2024. And the reason I'm saying that and couching it that way is because this Q star and Q learning stuff could actually be that major architectural breakthrough that we need to really jump, make a step change in the ability of AI, and that we will see coming to fruition in 2024 and beyond. So in the first prediction, I was saying, even if we don't have an architectural change or discover major new things, we'll still have an increasing ramp of what's going on and we'll see a lot of developments. But my second prediction is we will see an architectural change in 2024, and that's going to have a major impact on the future of AI as well. Just like Transformers were in 2017, it took a few years for people to realize the potential of Transformers, not just for large language models, but also for vision and other things. And so I'm predicting that either right about now at the end of 2023 or into 2024, we're going to get another of those major architectural improvements, and that improvement is going to again step change the capability of AI. Prediction number three for 2024 is that sometime probably in the second half of the year, we'll get our first high quality video content from AI generated directly. Now, yes, we've had some of that stuff in the past. It's looking really good already, but I'm talking about something, with some narrative content and a pretty decent amount of video, like 5 to 10 minutes or something. So in that realm, it's a pretty obvious, incremental change from what's gone on already. But I think that a lot of people are starting to focus on that now, and that we're going to see major improvements in that area. And more than anything else, we're going to see AI video really, improve obviously by leaps and bounds in 2024. Prediction number four is that we're going to get major improvements in mental and physical health, in diagnostics, in counseling, in all sorts of things like that. And again, this is stuff that already is out there and exists, so it's not that big of a prediction, but my prediction is basically that that's all going to sort of come to the consciousness of society. How's that? So it's being done on sort of a subterranean level right now, but I think that people are going to go to doctors, and the doctor is going to, go like, hey, I'm going to feed this to the AI to see if you have cancer or see if you have some other disease or something like that. And you're going to go to a counselor, and the counselor might be an AI counselor. It might be an intervention counselor that's like awake 24/7, and you're like, I'm having bad thoughts of harming myself or something like that. And instead of having to wait on a human being to catch up and talk to you, that there could be first responders that could be AI agents that would do that instead. And people might end up preferring that. Maybe people over time will prefer to talk to an AI agent rather than a human being. For cost, for convenience, for privacy, who knows? There could be a lot of reasons for that, but I think both on the mental and physical health aspects, we're going to see a major push into the public of these agents, and it's going to be something that will perhaps catch a lot of people by surprise, but not me, because I've seen all of this stuff. It exists already, it just hasn't really gotten to the forefront yet. And so my prediction is it's going to get to the forefront, and that's going to cause major changes in the way that people think about healthcare. My prediction number five is that we will actually have smart assistants, or actually smart assistants, to put that with actually smart, someone from Tesla. And what that means is that we'll get agents or, entities that will be able to actually help you. So right now you can have a conversation with ChatGPT or Grok or something, and you could say, hey, tell me a summary of today's news, or you can say, hey, I'm, whatever, tell me a story or something, whatever those kinds of things are. But let's say you were like, I'd like to find a good vacation place for June 15th to 20th of 2024. Tell me some good options. You know that I like the beach. You know that I like the mountains. You know what kind of sports I like to do. You also know what my wife likes. And so, you figure it out. And it would come back with 3 or 4 options and say, would you like to go to Greece, to an island in Greece? Or would you like to go to Colorado? Or would you like to go to Fiji or something along those lines? Give you sort of a ballpark figure for how much money each one of those things would cost, and all of that kind of stuff. And then you're like, yeah, let's go to Greece. Let's go to an island or two in Greece. And it would just take care of it. It would just go out. It would book the tickets for you. It would buy everything, take all of that stress off. Now, you could also think of this in a business context. That's a personal context. And because I hate booking travel plans and stuff like that, I always think of that as like a really, really big possibility. But you could also think about this in business. You could say like, help me strategize how to get my company more in the public eye. We have this product that we are not selling as much of as we want to, that kind of stuff. So anywhere from fully business to fully personal personal, we could have these assistants that can really help us out and truly make our lives easier and better and take stress out of our lives. So I predict that that could happen. I also think that there's a reasonable possibility that they might come in physical packages. And that's not that the same company would be both. You could have like OpenAI developing the internals of this thing, but then another company could make a little bot that could sit on your desk, or a little humanoid robot that could walk around, or, Tesla's Optimus. I don't think Optimus is going to be for sale to the public next year, but, at some point, a big full-size humanoid robot could be there. But in the meantime, you could have something that looked like a dog that did it, or it can be something that sits on your desk. It could look like a fountain or something like that, or an Alexa device or whatever, that kind of a thing. And it could just be there, and you could take it from room to room if you want to, or you could have a bunch of them. They could be little tiny entities. Maybe you have ones that walk around. Maybe they're cute. Maybe they're just kind of blocks that sit there and look like speakers. Whatever that sort of thing is, I think that there will be a push towards embodying that AI and that assistant to make you have more of a personal relationship with it. All right, and onward to a couple of not so positive possible outcomes. One of them is job disruption. I don't think this is a very big prediction on my part. I think it's happening already, and it's going to grow into 2024. And it's going to be very white collar focused. It's going to be on the creative industry, people who make money, working on computers, things like that. So these are relatively high paid workers, and people who do content creation, do creativity, all of that kind of stuff. Those jobs are going to be disrupted. And again, I don't think that's a huge, going out there on a limb prediction, because it's already happening. It's just going to accelerate into 2024. As for the consequences of this disruption, I'm not exactly sure, because it's going to reduce the GDP, because, if people are not employed, especially those who make relatively more money compared to the national average in the US and everywhere else, that's going to put a real damper on the gross domestic product of any country. And also, you've got a lot of these people who are going to be very discontent or unhappy about the fact that their jobs have been displaced. Again, remember that most of the previous revolutions that have happened in terms of labor saving have come at the expense of jobs that people were not particularly, they didn't particularly enjoy it. Or, it was a lot of manual labor. It was difficult. It was boring. It was just tedious, that kind of a thing. So people would still complain because it was their livelihood, but then they'd be like, oh, I'll get a better job. This is something that's more interesting than what I was doing before. The problem with this particular disruption is a lot of people really enjoy the jobs that they're doing. And these jobs, when they get displaced, is not like, oh, I'll find a better job. It's like, wait, I really like doing that job. So I predict that a lot of people are going to be very upset, and there's going to be societal turmoil. We could have something akin to the Luddite Revolution in 2024 that would be from the more white collar workers, again, people at the higher end of the income spectrum, relatively well educated, well trained. They're going to be very upset about losing their jobs, and they're going to make that known very publicly. Whether there is some sort of a big revolution or something, I don't know, but it's pretty clear that this disruption is going to happen, and it's going to be difficult for a lot of people in society, including potentially me. It's coming for teachers eventually, so it could come for me, maybe not 2024, but maybe 25 or 26. So this kind of a thing is definitely, I feel that pain, and a lot of students that I've had over the years feel the pain right now. So it's something that I'm very concerned about, but it's definitely happening at the same time. My prediction number 7 scares me even more, and that is deep fakes, particularly in a major election year in the United States. And there are other countries that are having big elections in 2024 as well. But this is something that's a huge concern. We're talking about deep fakes in terms of doing really, really good posts as if they're real, like just text posts, still images where you're like, oh, look at this person in a compromising position with so-and-so, and even high quality video and audio fakes. And that relates back to my other prediction, of course, as well. But that is going to be particularly dangerous in 2024, because that means that people are going to get fed whatever they want. So if they think, candidate X is a terrible person, they can get fed lots of information about candidate X, including a whole bunch of things about them that are not true, that are deep fake kind of things, whether again it's text or images or audio or video. All of that stuff can be fed to people to make them really, really believe what they already wanted to believe. And that is going to be a major, major issue in this election. I also strongly believe an outcome of all these deep fakes is that social media is not going to be trusted anymore. People are going to really, really start to doubt what they see on social media. And interestingly enough, X and its community notes might be one of the small bastions that stands up against this, because hopefully people will be able to react to these and say, nope, that is AI generated content. Again, the better the content gets, the more difficult it's going to be to prove that it's AI generated. But one of the advantages of community notes is there's a large group of people working on that. So it is going to be incumbent on X to try its best to continue community notes, to note these deep fake things that are going to be happening inevitably in 2024 and keep up with it. So it may turn out by the end of 2024 that X is the only social media platform that people actually trust anymore, because it's the only one where they feel like humans are actually interacting with it at an appropriate level and telling us what's fake and what's real. But of course, the counter to that is that a lot of people who are going to be developing these deep fakes are going to be state actors. In other words, one country that's attempting to, disrupt another country, they will pour a lot of resources into these fakes to make it as difficult as possible. So it's going to be, even with something like community notes, it's going to be a cat and mouse game between these state actors that are very, very well funded and have a lot of money and time and expertise that they can devote to creating these deep fakes. And then you've got, on the other hand, just, standard citizens trying to do the best they can to debunk this stuff. So it is going to get pretty ugly. I predict that by 2024, it's going to be really, really ugly in terms of like candidates all over the place being people saying that they're responsible for all kinds of horrible things, and what is true, what's not true. It's going to be really difficult to separate out the fake from the real by that point. Moving on, my prediction number 8 is that AI will become commoditized. What do I mean by that? I mean that many, many companies, people, players will be able to produce some sort of large language model, diffusion model, or something that can produce very, very high quality results. What's held people back so far is the very, very high cost of training foundation models. But a couple of things are going to happen. Number one is that foundation models like Llama, Llama 2, and others that are out there that are being made publicly available kind of short circuit that whole thing and get people to the fine tuning stage. And the fine tuning stage is much faster and costs a lot less money to do. So that allows many companies to take the base architecture of something like Llama and build on top of it to create something at a relatively low cost that is either specialized to what they want, or does what they want, or is an antidote to what they think is the evils or wrongs of somebody else's model. So again, I think that we're going to see a plethora of large language models, diffusion models, which do images and so forth, video, etc. So we're going to see more and more of that stuff. Now, as far as the real cutting edge research and the things that's at the forefront, yes, there's still going to be very few companies that can do that. But as long as any of them are willing to open source the results of what they've got, that, again, increases the level of the players that are out there. And so you get a much bigger team that's working on all of this stuff. I am all for that personally, because I do not like any company having monolithic control over something that's that important. Having a monopoly on pens or something wouldn't be that big of a deal, but having a monopoly on this kind of a thing, or a duopoly or a triopoly or whatever, that would be really, really bad. So I think that the more companies that are involved in this, the better. And so I'm all for this commoditization. My prediction number 9, and you knew I had to mention Tesla explicitly here, is that we're going to see the first Tesla robotaxi fare and or free ride in the United States in 2024, probably towards the end of the year. And what I mean by that, to be specific, is that we will get somebody in a car in a sort of a taxi situation. In other words, not their own vehicle. So they'll get into a vehicle, the vehicle will drive them from point A to point B in some city in a geofenced location, and there will be nobody in the front seat driving the car. So just like what Cruise and Waymo are doing now, but that Tesla will do that. And that will be a really big deal because, of course, Tesla is much more generalizable. Cruise, which I predict won't really exist by the end of 2024, and Waymo itself are much more localized and much more difficult to scale. But if Tesla can get to the point where a person is legally allowed to get into a vehicle that's not their own and go from point A to point B, whether they pay a fare yet or not, even if it's done for free at this point, that is going to be a really big deal, because that means that Tesla can ramp that thing up very, very rapidly to the entire country, or at least large swaths of the country. Of course, I believe this will be enabled enabled by version 12 of the software, which is end-to-end foundation models. If you haven't checked out my videos on that, you can check those out up here. And of course, that means that before we even get to these robotaxi fares, we're going to be looking at turning drivers loose. Not drivers, I guess riders loose. In other words, Tesla is going to have to go to regulators and say, hey, John owns a car, he's got a Model Y, and he's got full self-driving, and he's got version 12.5 or something like that. And he should be allowed to not pay attention in the car. And then that regulation is passed, and I'm allowed to drive around in my own car, ride around in my own car with the vehicle driving me instead of me driving in the vehicle. And again, that might be only in very localized regions. It might be only if it's sunny outside or daylight or nighttime or whatever. But even under very restricted circumstances, if people are allowed to do that in their own vehicles, the logical next step is that they'll be able to do that in a rented vehicle that somebody else owns. So version 12 of Tesla's full self-driving software, or maybe version 13 by then or something, and regulatory approval for somebody to get a robo-taxi ride by the end of 2024. And before we move on to prediction number 10, here are a couple of honorable mentions. The first one is multimodality. And the reason this is an honorable mention is because Gemini already introduced it in 2023. And what I mean by that is basically ground up trained architectures that do text, they do audio, they do video, they do images, maybe smell, maybe touch, maybe proprioception, all of that kind of stuff. Especially if you're dealing with robots, you're going to need that kind of a thing as well. But multiple types of modalities. Even though Google DeepMind just introduced that, it's going to be 2024 where we see it really start to take off. So I think it deserves a place as an honorable mention in 2024 because we're going to see a lot of results of multimodality come in. And my second honorable mention, which is not something I'm very happy about, is that there will probably be a major hack using AI as a significant part of the tool set in 2024. What do I mean by that? I mean, maybe a governmental hack, maybe a database of a bank, maybe stealing everybody's money out of a bank, getting into it using AI tools and pulling everybody's money out, billions of dollars. I mean, something major that has societal impacts in terms of a hack where AI, some sort of, large language model, deep neural network of some variety is used as a basic tool to be able to make that happen. Could be power grid, could be money, could be all sorts of things. But that's something I'm not excited about at all, and I didn't really want to put it in as one of my top 10 predictions, but I think it's worth mentioning at least because it's probably going to happen, and it's probably going to happen in 2024. And prediction number 10 for 2024 is that we will get AGI in 2024, or artificial general intelligence. So first, I know a lot of people have argued that we're already there, but what I'm talking about here is a general consensus amongst experts. That could be passing the Turing test and people saying like, yep, it actually passes the Turing test. It is an AGI. We believe it. And it's not just the general populace, but people who are experts in the field. In general, maybe 80% of the experts in the field are like, yes, we've passed the benchmark of artificial general intelligence. This tool is able to do many, many jobs at the level of an expert human being, potentially better than that. And again, if we go back to my first prediction, if we think about the AI being able to bootstrap itself and improve itself, then that AGI could not just be artificial general intelligence, but artificial general superintelligence by the end of the year. And that's rather scary. So that's a kind of a terrifying thing. Now, one thing I want to point out is this is not artificially intelligent agents, or AIA, which I am very, very careful to separate out these two things. Artificial general intelligence, AGI, is a tool still. It doesn't have any of its own motivations. It doesn't care about things. It only operates at the behest of a human. So, it's like a hammer. It's just a really, really complicated hammer. An artificially intelligent agent, or AIA, is a whole different beastie. And that's the thing where we're going to get to the singularity. Is that going to happen in 2024? I don't believe it will, although I think we're going to start to see glimmerings of that. So possibly as soon as even 2025, we might see AIA, but I predict we won't see that in 2024. And thank goodness for that, because we really, really don't need to get to that state yet. That's where the AI singularity is going to happen. All right, what do you think of my top 10 predictions for 2024, plus 2 honorable mentions? Let me know in the comments. And of course, let me know if I left something out where you think there are other developments that are happening happening that are as or more important than what I mentioned here. It's a big list, so we could probably make the top 50 or something like that. But anyway, let me know in the comments. I would love to know. And also let me know which things you think I am wrong about in predicting, because we will revisit those in about 12 months from now and see who's correct. And of course, while you're down there, please do like this video so other people can find it, because that's how YouTube's AI works. And of course, consider subscribing for more of this kind of content. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon, my YouTube channel members, and of course, my ex-subscribers. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel in any way that you can. And of course, if you want to join any of the teams, just check out the links in the description. And if you're interested in a whole bunch of really cool merch, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. We have TeslaBot t-shirts, the Tesla meme t-shirt, success is a possible outcome, 4680 battery cells. All of that stuff is on t-shirts, mugs, tumblers, and on and on. So check it out. And finally, a big thanks once again to ZBiotics for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out my link in the description. Use Dr. No at checkout and get 15% off your order. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.